probably like a deep-seated need for approval. I don't know. I always wanted to be a comic. As a kid, watching like my parents would put on like old SNL and that kind of stuff, and so I would do that. I would like watch that. I would consume a lot of comedy. So like as a kid, I was just consuming a lot of comedy. So for me, that was always like, oh man, if you can be a comic, you should be a comic. And I kind of fucked around a little bit in college. I would like get people to let me do stand-up. Like I did stand-up at like a porn like event, like a Jewish holiday event. It didn't go well, but I didn't really do I don't feel like I started comedy until like around 2 years ago in Atlanta. I went through some improv classes and then was just like, oh, it's easier if you just do it by yourself. And I kind of got over the fear of being alone, do it by yourself, and I got that kind of that bug, like just go into open mics and then you just keep going. I think it was like, just like, I'm a very nervous, anxious person, so I think it was just like a lot of nerves. I kind of always had like a non-justified confidence that kind of probably helped me a little bit, but I just kind of went for it. I was excited, and I also like when I lived in New York for a little bit. I did sketch writing classes at UCB, so I kind of had a little. And I work in advertising, so I did a lot of writing for commercials and stuff, and so I had a lot of like skills for writing and concepting. So I feel like I kind of had a little bit of a cheat coming into it, where I was like a little bit better than people starting at the same time as me. So it was really just like frustration, like I felt, oh, I need to be on shows and stuff. So for me, it was like getting over that and getting over like, no, you just keep showing up, you just keep doing it, get over your ego. So many, and then once you keep, for me, it's about consistency. You keep showing up, keep doing it, and then people fuck with you. Like people care about your stuff after you've been doing it consistently for like a year. Then people start noticing you, start putting on shows. So for me, it was like learning to have a little bit more of the first thing, comedy, I think I learned was to have a little bit more of a long game, a little bit more of a patience with it, to be like, this is a practice, this is like something it's like a pursuit I'm working on. I'm not instantly going to be the comic in Atlanta. I'm going to be part of something that's happening, and you have to play, you kind of play by the rules. You have to like be noticed and get our stuff, and so I think that's probably the biggest thing for my first couple of months in comedy. So one of my favorite comedy specials is Live, the Purple Onion, Zach Galifianakis. That I remember seeing that in college and just being like, fuck, this is good. This is like great, and just like kind of consuming it and holding down. I also really love John Mulaney. I love like pretty much all of his Netflix stuff. He's great. I love Tig Notaro. Like anything she does, I think it's great. Maria Bamford is like do no wrong. Like people are like, oh, she's too nervous. She's too crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's like my whole life. Like I love it. So this is, some of the comics. Also some of the comics that like I have that list of like do no wrongs. People like comics that like can literally do no wrong. In that list for me, it's like Will Forte, Bill Hader. A lot of the people that were like in SNL when I was like in college, like I really like. I've always been such a huge SNL fan, and so that whole kind of like Kristen Wiig, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, those kind of people, I just like have such an affinity for. I don't know if that answers the question. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. That's like my favorite new thing. Jesus, that's such a good show. That's on Netflix, that's sketch. I also love Birthday Boys, that's sketch on Netflix. That's produced by Bob Odenkirk, and that's like a bunch of like kind of up-and-comers out of LA. Love that. I was real into like the Lonely Island before they were on SNL, and on SNL I was kind of like, I knew them before, but they're great. Also, Good Neighbor stuff, so Kyle Mooney and Beck Bennett. And then I can't remember the guy. He's a writer on SNL. That was great too. They're amazing. Yeah. Ooh, I love the IT Crowd. I watched like Cheat Crowd like so many times through. It's such a weird British sitcom. It has a laugh track. I get over that. I feel like I love The Good Place. I love comedy. I feel like sitcoms for me is like it's like a comfort blanket. Like I'll just put on The Office and I'll do some work, or I'll put on Parks and Rec, and I've watched both of those like all the way through. It's just kind of like 30 Rock. God, I watched 30 Rock so many times through as like in college. I just fucking love that. So like some of my all-time favorites, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I'm a big Steve Martin fan. Like he is someone that like I look at. He was a philosophy major. I was a philosophy major in college. Really look up to him. Like he had this rule early on, like if it's not 100% original, you just scrap it. It's like you have that original thought, like in philosophy. I really respect that. So like The Jerk, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, so that kind of stuff. I grew up like idealizing Monty Python, and so like Holy Grail, all that, like Life of Brian, all those things were great. Recently, I'm trying to think of like recent comedy that I've loved. I don't know. I'm a sucker for like Seth Rogen movies. I'm a stoner, so like I love that comedy. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on like other comedy movies. I don't know. There's a comic in Atlanta, Katie Hughes, who has a joke that just kills me. She has a bit where she says, "I used to be a tomboy, but look at me now. I'm a full-grown Thomas man." And I love that joke. It's so clean. It's perfect. Anyone that would probably have me, I feel like I'm a pretty big personality. I feel like I can see people getting tired of me on the road. So I feel like anyone that would know me well enough to be like, I could hang out with Ben and fuck with like my comedy, and like if we can click, so like that's a comic I want. Because there's comics that I love that I feel like I kind of get on their nerves and we are friends, but I'm like, I don't know if they want to be in a car with me. But there's other comics that like I really click with. So I feel like it would, even like really famous comics, I would be scared to say like oh, you're Bradford or someone else. But I think it would just be, I would want to make sure that I didn't feel like I was like annoying the fuck out of them the whole time. So it depends on that little connection, because you're spending so much time with them. Like you're kind of going into like a mini relationship with them. So I would tour with Conan. I think if I could become friends with Conan, I would tour with him in a heartbeat. I love Conan O'Brien. I've always have. Love his podcast. Anyways. I'm not a big roast fan, but my favorite roast is the roast of James Franco. And that like Sandberg, Bill Hader, like all those dudes that did that roast, like I would probably just pick that. I would want non-roast comics. I feel like my favorite roasts are the ones that are like not just like mean, but like have a concept, and they can be like. I'm also like a bad roaster. Like I don't like making fun of people. I feel like if I try, I end up being too mean. And I'm also very sensitive. I'm like a very sensitive person, and I'm very insecure. And so I'm kind of terrified of getting roasted. I don't know if I'm. I don't know. I've always loved sketch. I've always made little like videos in college. I made little short videos, sketch videos. Love sketch comedy. I feel like that's probably my favorite comedy actually. I've done improv. Improv is great. I love good improv, but it's a different animal, and when it's good, and when it's bad, it's like oh fuck. And like that's also stand-up, sure, but it's more like a art piece. I don't know. I like writing. I like putting together a concept and be like, this is so like funny and tight. So I feel like if I was gonna go at anything from stand-up, it would be sketch. I love sketch. I would love to. I just keep working in Atlanta. There's a lot to do in Atlanta. There's a lot of comedy scene in Atlanta. I would love to build up my presence there, be known there, kind of get on shows. Eventually, probably, if comedy was the thing I was going to do, it would be probably move to a bigger market and try to take what I've learned in Atlanta and show that off somewhere else bigger. Instagram, my illustration is bearded glasses, like my face. And then Ben Wallis, like Ben says, past us, Ben, Ben Wallis is my Instagram personally. And then Ben Wallis on Facebook. My whole set is kind of built around people. I think people are, when they come to comedy, have fun. I think they want to have fun. I think that the one thing comics do that is a misstep from my opinion is like they either make it too heavy or too serious or too anytime you kind of take the fun out of it. So for me, it's like I want people to be like, man, that was so silly, that was so fun, that was just a good time. Hi, I'm Ben Wallis, and check out my interview on cutie.com. Cutie Pie, just like me. Aww.